Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols, and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth, and today I'm going to show you one of the more interesting translation choices I have ever seen. We're going to walk through it. I'm going to show you why they did it, but first let's take a quick look at the source of this, and that is the NET Full Notes. Now this is the genuine leather cowhide edition, and this has got all the updates, over 60,000 textual footnotes. So what you have here is you have the text of your scripture right here, and then you have your textual critic notes, your textual notes, and your study notes. And those are all indicated with TC, a TN, or an SN whenever you're looking at the notes. Also, whenever you're reading the scripture, you're going to see these little letters here. And that lets you know what letter to go to in order to find that note. So this is the full notes. This is every note that the translator offers, every decision that they made. It's really, really a cool resource. In fact, there are some places, look at that. That is the scripture. That is the notes. So any of your textual critical notes, any of your translation decisions that are kind of weird or sit kind of funny with you, you can find out why they did this. Now, one of the biggest ones, we're going to go to Ruth chapter 4, verse 1. And I'm actually going to just read this to you because I thought it was interesting. It says, "Now Boaz went up to the village gate and sat there, and then along came the guardian." So this is when Boaz is about to redeem Ruth, and the guardian has no interest in redeeming her because she's a Moabite. And it says, Boaz said, "Come here, what's your name?" And then it has the letter E here. So we're going to go to the letter E in the note. And it says, literally means such and such, or a certain one. The idiom is used when one wishes to be ambiguous. And it's saying here that Boaz definitely knew the guy's name, but the author used poetic form here because he did not want to acknowledge the person's name because he had refused to redeem Ruth because she was a Moabite. Now it gets even more interesting when we go to previous editions. When we go to this one, this is a second edition. Now one thing about this is the NET Bible is actually a public domain translation. You can actually print this thing in its entirety, provided you give it away. Thomas Nelson has since purchased rights to be able to print it like this, because before they printed it themselves through Bible.org, which is their website. So now let's go to Ruth 4:1 on this one, which is the second edition. You're going to see that it says the same thing. It says, "Come here, what's your name?" and sit down. But this is where it gets fascinating. This is the first edition. This one actually has 60,000 notes. Another interesting thing is they reduced the notes for the second edition. This one only has 58,506, to where this one is back to the full suite of almost 61,000. So I'm assuming this one probably has 61,000. It says over 60,000. So check this out. Also, you'll notice the layout is different in this edition, in the first edition, because it doesn't have that illuminated style. So both of these have your text of scripture with your notes on the bottom. And then of course the Thomas Nelson edition has the text of scripture with the wraparound. I really think that's cool. It really gives me Jewish vibes of some of the Talmuds and older Jewish documents. But this is fascinating. Look, it says, "Come here and sit down, John Doe." Now I just think that is absolutely hysterical. So what I'm going to do is I am going to grab this, and we're going to go to the King James Version, and we're going to go to Ruth chapter 4, and we're going to read what a translation that we're used to, how it would normally read this, because sometimes we lose the meaning when we're not careful. And that's one thing I love about the NET Full Notes, is they give you the full reasoning why they make translation decisions. When we get to Ruth chapter 4 verse 1 in the King James, it says, "He went, and then Boaz went up to the gate and sat him down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, Ho, such a one, turn aside and sit down." It's almost like the more standard translations that we read. It's just like he's like, "Hey, you, come here," where that's not what the person that recorded this is trying to do. They are trying to say, I don't even want to say your name. "Hey, John Doe. Hey, what's your name?" So I don't know if you knew about that, but if you've got an older edition of the NET, I encourage you to check out Ruth chapter 4 and see how they translate it. Is it "what's your name"? Do you have a John Doe edition? If you have the John Doe edition, you have something that's actually pretty cool. You have a first edition. Now there's a beta edition as well of this. I have never seen that before, so I don't know what it uses. I'm going to assume it uses John Doe, but let me know. Do you have a John Doe Bible? Because I think it's pretty cool. While it's really not literal, John Doe wasn't even a term way back then. As Americans, we kind of get it because John Doe is someone where we don't know their name. God bless you. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nichols Worth.